Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wingcat Sports, and it's our post games for Michigan and Michigan State. Michigan playing Fresno State. Honestly, a little disappointed in them. If you're supposed to be a top 10 team, you should have won by more and probably done a tiny bit better on defense.
I like I said, I had predicted Michigan to be around 8-4 at the beginning of the season. That might even be a stretch. I don't know, but I'm going to give them a pass this year. A lot has happened to this team. Um, Number one, losing a legendary coach, so they're going to have to take a couple steps back. Um, I've never been so unfamiliar with a Michigan team before a season started as this year. I knew nothing other than Donovan Edwards coming back. That was it.
Yeah.
And I had no idea who the quarterback would be.
And
Warren
we still barely even know
Warren
who the
made some
quarterback
nice
is.
throws, but he does not look super sharp yet. I thought Orgy would be the starter, but apparently they don't think he can throw as well as Warren.
Apparently
Um,
not.
and they're going to put him in there on occasion to run the ball, but that's only going to work against average teams, not against the big boys. They're going to see that and know what he's doing. Um, so
But
it's, but I expect more next week against Texas. Will give us a better evaluation of how good this team is. Because they're going to have to pull out all the stops to beat a team like Texas.
yes.
So maybe they were holding back. I don't know. Um, I thought the defense was decent. Defense played well.
10 points, that's what you expect.
Yep.
That's what
So
you expect.
it's just they don't in college football to be one of the better teams. You have to have above average quarterback play, and I'm not sure they have a quarterback that good enough yet.
Looking at the stats, right? We'll start with the Fresno State side. So how did the Fresno State do against our defense? Well, their quarterback was 22 for 36, threw for 235 yards, one TD, two interceptions. Honestly, not that bad for a QB from Fresno State
No,
against our defense. Um,
one of those picks was a backbreaker, but
yes,
um,
a pick six
right.
in the game, but otherwise rushing they did really, really good. Michigan's defense did. The Fresno State's offense did not do good rushing, only for 22 yards total for the whole game.
Right.
So, I mean, if you had to pull anything, the run defense looks pretty good on Michigan sides. Passing defense might need a little bit of work once you go into a bigger game like Texas next week. We'll see how exactly everything goes when it comes to that.
Right.
Um,
But you know what? Again, people should have fun this year. We're going to be playing some good games. We're going to have bigger games than we've ever had before, better opponents, and it's going to be challenging. And we certainly, like I said, we're taking a couple steps back from our national championship team last year. The defense, like I said, looks good. It's just, the quarterback situation. Is this guy going to be good enough to beat the better teams?
Yes. How he did against Fresno State, Davis Warren was 15 for 25, 118 yards, one TD, one interception, while Orgy did have a couple throws. He was 1 for 2 for 3 yards total, but he was more rushing out there. He had 5 rushing attempts for 32 yards. Mullings looked pretty decent, I think, at running back. Yes,
Yes.
on Saturday he did pretty good. I would say that is a good compliment to Edwards, who did receive 11 carries but only ran for 27 yards. And that's kind of where I looked at
Yeah.
it. We rushed for 148 yards, threw for 121. It looked like Fresno State's defense had the answers for most of the game, and they
Yeah.
just
Right. And
took their foot off the gas in the fourth quarter.
our O line certainly has taken a few steps back. Um, we have issues with that. So that's gonna, yeah, and who knows? Like I said, I'm gonna give this week a pass. We won 30-10. Glad, and then let's see how they look against Texas. I don't think anyone thinks they're going to beat Texas, um, but let let's just evaluate them from that against a really good opponent.
Yeah. Let's move on to the Michigan and Michigan State side of things. They only beat Florida Atlantic 16-10. If I'm a Michigan State fan, I would be a little bit worried for how the rest of the year should go. Again, it is the first game. Maybe, give them a tiny bit of a break. But if I felt like I'm a decent team, I feel like I should be scoring more points on a team like Florida Atlantic.
Right. I agree. It was hard game to watch, mistake filled. After halftime, it was brutal to watch. I just can't uh, see Michigan State being. But like I said, you got a new coach. Give them a little bit of time. Their quarterback does look, better than what they've had. So I mean,
And they seem to have a decent running back.
right,
But we'll start with the Florida Atlantic stats on offense. Cam Fancher, their QB, was 12 for 25, 116 yards, and then they rushed for a total of 132 between their QB, who led the Florida Atlantic in rushing for 67 yards, and their two running backs. But overall, I mean, 10 points again. If you want to be a good team, 10 points is what you want to see out of these smaller teams as a
right.
point against you, right? You're not going to shut out
Their defense was
the
decent.
bad teams all the time. So 10 points for a game against somebody who gets lucky here
Right.
or there, that is good. You want your defense to be like that. 116 and 132 yards. You didn't give up more than 300 yards of offense.
Right.
So
their defense played well.
So you're doing good there. Offensively, Aiden Childs, 10 for 24, 114 yards.
Not a lot of attempts, but not a very good completion rate.
If I want to have a little bit more confidence in the QB situation if I was an MSU fan, I would want more completions. He did rush for 6 attempts at 28 yards, but Lynch Adams 9 carries for 101 yards, pretty good. You did rush for 179 total on the day, so I mean you were rushing the ball, and that's really how you won. But 16 points against the Florida Atlantic team will not be enough in the future.
Well, not against anybody good. Again, this is the first week. You got to get a feel for what you got, and come back next week. Who do they play next week?
Michigan State is playing Maryland at 3:30 on Saturday.
Test. That's a real good test.
So a decent Big Ten team. Maryland has kind of worked their way up. We'll see how they are. I believe Tua's brother is no longer Maryland's quarterback. So we'll see whoever their quarterback is, if he can kind of continue the same momentum that Tua's brother did. Because Tua's brother kind of put them a little bit on the map to be an okay football program. That isn't just straight losing.
Right.
So we'll see what happens. I mean, that is a decent test. Maryland is favored by 9 points going into that game. So they are not the favorites to win that game. But that is their first test. Michigan, big test. You're facing Texas. If you want to show any light,
is there a line on that game yet?
Texas's line. Let me get back to it. Texas's line. Texas is favored by 6.5.
That's a big line against the former. We're just coming off the national championship
at home.
6 points at home against who's at home?
Michigan.
We're playing in Ann Arbor.
And Texas
a big point spread.
Is favored. Michigan hasn't lost at home in 23 games. We'll kind of get more into that into a pregame for both these games, but Michigan has their chance to prove themselves. They're an underdog going into the game. We'll see what ends up happening.
Man, that could be an embarrassment for the Michigan faithful at home to get spanked. But let's see if they do. I think that defense is pretty good, and I just they have to improve. The quarterback play has to improve.
Yes,
they're running everything on offense. Their offense just looks pedestrian. So
yes. But with all that being said, if you like what you see, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think about both Michigan and Michigan State. Like I said, we don't know as much in the college football, so our opinions will be very much scattered around all over the place. If you like what you see, like, comment, subscribe. And until next time, everybody.